Okay, well, it's working now. I think I lost everybody. Uh, well, it's unfortunate. So, we'll see if anybody shows up, I guess. Hello. I'm not sure if anybody's making it back, but had a momentary internet lapse. I'm not really sure if it was the internet or if my streaming software crashed, because my internet seemed fine, but my streaming software was not giving me a good run, so it wouldn't reconnect to Twitch for whatever reason. So apologies for that, and we'll see if anybody comes back. We had about 5 or 6 people watching it a few moments ago, and we'll see where we're at with things in just a moment, and I'll continue. So what I was saying was, I was asking before I continued with anything else, if what we had was if anybody had any questions. Now there's only one person watching, but we'll see how that goes. So I don't know. Okay, so while I'm waiting for people to come back, so I'm gonna see what happens here. So I'm just waiting to see if anybody else is going to come back. We'll see what happens. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I was just posting a few things to let people know that I was back. I'm not really sure exactly what it was that killed it in the first place. My internet, I thought at first, but I didn't have an internet problem, and my internet was still running at 60 down, so and almost 35 up. So it wasn't the internet. I think the streaming software had a blip. Something was wrong with it. I had to figure out a way to get around that. So did a reboot and it came right back up. So all right. Essentially what I was talking about was, yeah, I don't know. I tried opening up another Twitch channel real quick to see if Twitch was running, and it was really incredibly slow opening up someone else's stream. But my other browsers seem to be yeah. So my other browsers seem to be working fine after that. Okay, so the sprite is pretty much completed. I'm gonna be doing some more animation eventually. Yeah, I don't know. That's the first time I've had an issue with it, so I don't know. We'll go from there and see what happens. And yeah. So I like the little sprite. It turned out pretty good, I think. I didn't hear from her how she felt about the animation before the service went down, but can definitely continue with the animation. I probably gonna crop it out and make a GIF to put on the stream here pretty soon. With it. Oh, did she? Okay. Well, that's fine. I will. What I'll do is I'll create a GIF tomorrow, after I've finished up, or I might do it tonight on the stream if nobody shows up here pretty soon. I'll probably work on Grandma for a few minutes and then. Yeah, and I'm probably gonna do like a little whirly animation and have her face the other way, and then, no, via Facebook like an hour ago she was laying down. Okay. Yeah, I didn't hear much from her, so. Okay. I think it turned out all right, and I think it's got a lot of personality. So we'll move on from there. And I think these sprites like this, they don't take very long to do, a couple hours to get a full animation going after you've finished it. But yeah, they work out pretty well, and they'll fit in the game, and we can use them in the racing game quite easily, and then we can always plug them into Liuzu eventually down the road as well. So, yep. All right. I posted in a few forums. I don't know what they will amount to. If anybody else shows up, I'll get back to work. I'll give it about 15 more minutes or 20 and post maybe a couple more times. I've got retweet bots on Twitter and Facebook. I might drop something on Google Plus and see if anybody shows up. And if nobody shows up, I'll just unplug it 1 o'clock, and we'll call it like a 4-hour stream tonight. So, yep. If we can get lucky Luke the Lucky's image or whatever, that would work for me. We could do another one. That'd be fun. Could have a bunch of little animated people dancing around doing stuff on the stream. Do. Somebody else is here, so I guess I'll get started on something. We've worked on the sprites. This was part of our sprite giveaway that we just worked on tonight. And what we did was we created a sprite that resembled the person, and ended up with they wanted to do a disco dance, and so we did a simple disco dancing animation, and I will complete that later, like filling it out and making an animated image out of it so that we can use it on the stream and put it in the game with a full strip of animations. Probably gonna go back to Grandma and her Cloud Racer and start working on that. I haven't really worked too closely on her form yet, so try to clean this up. Now these are low detail in the beginning. We don't really give a whole lot of I'm not giving a whole lot of attention to the details to begin with, because I'm just filling out the form really and getting the general shape down. This is a little thick there. I don't know how I feel about that. So just general like work on shaping and color, and I need to remember that she has this scarf thing that comes around her neck. Give it a bit of this touch going on. Not too much, not too much. So we're working on right now a kart racing game for the characters of you can play the games there if you go to that link. I don't know if that's going to actually go through in the chat there, but it's getsome.com, and you can play the games, and these characters are in the games. And what we do is we basically just make games, and they're playable on pretty much any kind of browser that works. You can play them on mobile. You can play them on your desktop computer. They're free to play. I'm not sure how I feel about... I want her skirt to kind of flutter as she's racing, so that'll be part of the animation that I do eventually. And I'm going to kind of keep it to a low detailed. And I may do something I haven't done in a long time, where I go around a sprite and just basically give it a thick... These are so big, I think that they could benefit from a nice detailing like that. I'm going to give this kind of a dark hem around her waistline. Kind of give it kind of an elastic feel. See how that looks. Basically what we're doing is we're making a a sprite for it's basically like kind of a play on Mario Kart. We have games that we make for GetSome.com, and they're phaser games. They're made they're web browser games, so you can play them online, and you can play them on your phone, on your computer, and or any mobile device really that has a web browser. And you go on there, and like we've made a series of games at this point, and we're currently like building like our next game is going to be a kart racer, and each of they're based the characters, the drivers are based on some of the characters from our games that we've made up to date. And basically what I'm doing is just creating a character for one of our games called Grandma Go Home, and it's she it's an infinite jumper in which she climbs on clouds and she ascends the sky. It's kind of a play on going to heaven sort of thing. And basically what I'm doing right now is just kind of playing with the colors and like setting up. I'm not into a stage for final detail. I'm just kind of plotting out the general shape of the character. And I will probably get in there and clean up a lot of this soon, but I wanted to make sure we had enough detail on the form to give us a good idea of where we were going with it. So, as you might see, I'm not at a point of high detail on any of these sprites yet. Even the previous character will have some more finishing work done on him before it's over. In the animations, these are very large sprites. They're using a 128 by 128 base in pixel art. That's pretty big, but they're racers, so they're not getting a lot of really heavy animations. They're getting subtle animations. The sort of thing that you would see is basically the sort of thing that you would typically the sort of thing that you would typically see as part of like a placeholder art or something. I'm not getting into the final stuff yet. So like our game is going to be a simple racing game. It's not too complicated. I've built out a controller console sort of system that kind of like replicates the old NES controller scheme. So like you actually can hold your phone like and play it like it's got buttons on the screen. There's actually a HUD that incorporates buttons in the design so that you can actually like steer and drive, accelerate, and slow down and stuff like that with. I put this in totally the wrong spot. You can basically do that stuff with your phone, and I've kind of like I laid it out that way on purpose so that it would be easier to consolidate your desktop with your key bindings and your I did it again. Your desktop with your key bindings, and then I've got the setup with the mobile devices. So like you can even play it on your tablet or your phone if your phone has a web browser, and you'd be able to find you'd be able to like put your fingers on the buttons on the screen and use them, as opposed to a lot of the time when you try to like use something on the phone, the buttons, figuring out the controls and things like that can be complicated. So I'm trying to like integrate it in such a way that it seems natural to somebody. And again, what I'm working on is I'm just kind of filling out the general shape and design of a kart racer for a simple Mario Kart like game. And to begin with, my shadows are really heavy right now. I'm going to trim them down some because they're really thick and I don't like them that way. They don't look very appealing. And my final pass on these things will improve them a lot. They'll feel a lot more substantial at that point when I do the final pass and get through. But mostly what I'm doing at this point on Grandma is just defining her shape and her form. And I'm planning on when I animate, I'm going to animate her cape to flutter in the wind as she drives. Probably do give the cloud a bit of a fluffiness as it goes. Kind of give it a general like flutter, maybe some puffs of wisps coming off of it as she goes down the road. The rotation, like for turning, is going to be the most complicated portion of this when you take it apart and put it back together. That stuff generally, like, you know, you turn it sideways, you gotta rotate, you gotta create the form and make sure that it has good enough depth that, you know, you can do that easily without it being too much work. And on a sprite this large, it tends to be, you know, semi complicated putting it together that way. Now, the racing setup here is not too bad. It's like, I feel like I probably should put in like something for Grandma's thrusters, like her, something like this, an exhaust of some sort. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Just picking a darker color at the moment. I don't know, we'll see how that looks. What I want to do is I want to give her tail lights so that when she hits her brakes, you can see them. I'm going to go quite dark on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have them look like this, and then when she hits the brakes, they're going to light up red. And again, what I'm doing is just creating the base of a sprite for like a kart racing game that's essentially about like Mario Kart, but it's using the characters from our company GetSome.com, in which we've created a number of free-to-play online games on our website that you can play, and our characters have all had like a kind of a unique basis. And what we're doing is just creating a racing game now that uses some of the characters we've created in our other games and kind of consolidating them together. It's been there's quite a bit left to do on this game. I'm just getting to the point that I've started to create the sprites for it. We've got a lot of we're creating it via phaser, and you know, phaser has its limitations. Our biggest limitation for what we're trying to accomplish is that all of our games up to this point that we have actually completed are at the point that they run on every device as best as possible. So like we've gone with like kind of a try to get it to work on every device that you possibly can sort of approach. And yeah, so basically what extra power we could have with Phaser, what other stuff that we could do with it. We're a little bit limited because we have to find ways to make our games work on the website, and just basically get like, oh, that's awful. We have to get all of our stuff to work on the website, like, and oh man, these flowers are not going to look right at all. Um, yeah, I'll just decorate them in the right way. They'll be all right. Um, Essentially, our aim is to make our games playable on every device as much as possible. So, like, we have a variety of games already. I think we're up to 7 currently on our website that are fully functional. We're working on getting more on there. Within the next month, we should be releasing about anywhere from 3 to 4 new game projects that will all be free and playable on the website as well. So um, that's going to be a new influx of projects. Actually, it's going to be 3 games. One of the games, when we finish it, it's one of the new like projects that we're working on is not actually completing. Uh, it's not completing a new game. It's actually a visual update and a system upgrade to a previous game that we've already completed. So that's that's not exactly a new game that's coming, but it's going to feel like a new game when that game is completed because it's going to be such a change to the way the game's played, and the visual upgrade itself is going to change the game significantly so that it doesn't feel like it's at all the same project. It's going to have a vastly different like feel to it, and um, yeah, it's gonna feel like the basketball game right now is pretty clunky. The artwork that was done for it was was not, it was not peak level artwork. It's a little rough. Some of the stuff is out of like proportion. The animation that we have for it is pretty simple at this point. It's one simple animation. The game is very linear, and we're looking at diversifying the experience of the game to make it feel a lot more interesting to play. Um, our main goal with it is to make it challenging, but like make it not make the game not feel like it's the same exact thing over and over and over. We like to try to get a little bit of replay value in our games where we can find it, and we base a lot of our projects are pretty much just like small score based games in which you would try to replicate, to get as high a score as possible. And oh, that's not what I want. I want this. And something I'm doing with this sprite is I'm duplicating the lighting on both directions, which a lot of the time you wouldn't do in a game. But just for my purposes, because I'm going to be using reversals and stuff, it doesn't really hurt the project at all. It doesn't hurt the aesthetic at this point to change that and make things a little different. I'm basically just trying to get it to feel like it doesn't matter which direction the lighting's coming from. Now I'm going to dip that lighting down just a little here and loop it around a little bit underneath here. We had some fun earlier. We did a giveaway of an in-game sprite for this game. Now these are sprites that are they're kind of like what you would call chibis, but they're kind of a unique style of chibi. They're using the wrong tool here. Basically what we've done is we're creating chibi style sprites that would go on the track. So like when you're racing and when you're driving, you will see these little characters. And what we've been doing every Thursday on our stream is just doing a giveaway of an in-game character sprite. It's an NPC. It's just a little, they're like little minions, but like they're highly stylized minions. They sort of match they capture the personality and the appearance of the individual that they were made to represent. So like what we've been doing on every Thursday for this game is kind of a little promotional thing where we take and we create a sprite, we do a giveaway, and whoever wins the giveaway has a sprite created that represents them in game. And yeah, so basically we just do a drawing, and if you win, then you get to have a little sprite made of you. I created on the stream, and I talk with you a little bit and we get a good image that I can base it off of. I mostly just need a shirt, really. Not a shirt, a face, and maybe like a shirt color, what type of clothes to throw, on the character. And from there we can, generally generate something that matches your general, who you are, and capture the feel of your personality. But then we also animate it on stream as well, give it a simple animation, and turn that into something that's more fun and it's more enjoyable. So it's a fun way to do, like, to get the word out about your projects, and like to get people involved. And so far it's been going pretty well. So we're going to continue doing that every week until we get to a point that we have plenty of these little characters to populate the racing game with. They're going to be like little sideline guys for the most part. Yeah, they're going to just... I feel like I need something back here, but I don't know what I want to put back there, and I don't like that at all. I'm okay with that, maybe. Just make it seem like it's part of the racer. Alright, she's smaller than Theseus was, but she fits in the same box pretty well, and she matches his style pretty closely. So one thing I've been thinking about doing, because like I don't really like I feel like the sprites are kind of this weird, like, they're so large, but they're using such a simple style that they kind of feel like they're a little heavy-handed on the washout of colors. So what I'm thinking about doing is maybe giving them a little bit of this to sharpen their colors some. And I don't know how much good this will do. I don't know that it will do anything for the sprites themselves, actually. I'm just kind of putting it out there, giving it a look, and seeing, because a lot of the time when you work with pixel art, or really any art style at all, but especially pixel art because you're working on such a small scale, a lot of the time what you do is you just experiment with an idea. It's like you think, this might look okay, so I'm going to try that. I'm going to see what it looks like. I'm going to give it a go. And then I'm going to back up. I gotta see if that helps. And I really feel like when you back out and you put it at the, the 100 to 200% scale, it actually kind of helps a little bit at this point, but I don't know. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to make two versions, one with, one without the black outline, and see which one I like better. Now, in game, oops, in game you might run into a situation in which, when you're actually plugging the assets in and when you're creating the assets, a lot of the time you tend to not really use black outlines on big sprites. You tend to use them on small sprites, because a lot of the time with small sprites, what you run into is there's not enough detail to do a lot of shading on sprites when you're like running low on territory and space. But what you can do is try to like your color is diversified. Like you can't really do a lot of shading with like say you're working with like an 8x8 sprite. That's tiny. You can't really do a whole lot of shading. You can't have a whole lot of colors. But what you can do is just use the colors in that sprite really, really well. Like you can be very conservative, be very creative about the way you put your colors together, and that will make the sprite feel a lot more creative and it'll have a lot more style. But what you run into a lot of the time is that when you put your sprite against the background, because it has so few colors, it has less depth to it. So you end up working around the idea of trying really hard to come up with colors that contrast well but also contrast with the background. So a lot of the time when your sprite is too small to really have a lot of depth or meaningful color contrast, you can try using a black outline, and that black outline will make the sprite stand out better. So you kind of have the two options for the direction you want to go. Now, as I said before, most of the time you wouldn't want to go with you would not want to go with a heavy amount of black outline on a large sprite, because you don't need the black outline to make the sprite stand out. But then at the same time, when you do something with a low level of shading, a low level of definition, like what I'm doing right now, it's a very large sprite, but it's using a lot of like open flat area and simple implications of shading and depth. So the sprites themselves are created to be large planes of color, large patches of large. The clusters are large. They feel like they're fills, and it makes the sprite look. It can help it stand out more. It can help it feel like there's a lot more going on. Excuse me. So basically what you see there is that I've given Grandma an outline. I actually kind of like the outline. I feel like it works pretty well. So she's looking pretty good. I want to go kind of come in here and do some more detailing on the clouds. Give them just a bit here. See if that helps it at all. I don't know if I feel like it does anything for it. So just probably leave it that way. And I'll have some cloud puffs that come out of her when she's going down the road. And so essentially Grandma is now, she's basically done. I could do more work on the skirt, but I think what I want to do is I want to keep the skirt really simple, because when I animate her, I'm pretty sure her skirt's going to be one of the big things that I focus on. I'm not going to give her hair or her blouse or even the cloud a lot of animation, because I feel like if I give the skirt animation, it will give the implication that she's, going down the road very quickly and the wind's blowing on her. So I don't feel that I need to really. I feel like I need to do something to. Hmm. Just give it a little bit more run on these. I don't know how it'll look, but I'm gonna check it. So back that up and have a look. It looks okay. We're gonna stick with that, and then I'll animate that when she's going down the road so that it flutters in the wind. And again, this is 128 by 128 sprite, but at the end of the day, I don't want to go too. I want her to stay like that. So I'm gonna save this. So Grandma is saved, and then all I have to do is animate these later on. Um, Basically, the situation with Grandma is that she's a character from the Grandma Go Home game, and she'll need a lot of attention with, like the way when she turns, and I'm gonna kind of give her like a fluttery bob, and I'll give her little cloud wisps that pop out behind her. So that'll be fun to do. Probably do a little cloud wisp now. Kind of give them a little bit of a. So what I can do is just give this a simple, and pretty soon we'll be putting this game together and doing a lot more, we'll do a lot more work on making sure everything is, I'll be actually putting the assets in the game, and we'll be looking at those in future Twitches, Twitch streams, and you guys will see it like actually come together as I work on it. So yeah, it's gonna have a life of its own eventually. This game is it's pretty exciting to work on. Mostly because it's it's the first game that's really using a new system that we've just put in. Um, that involves a lot of like we've just come up with a new idea for like a saving system in our games where we can have like unlockables, and it's a way that we haven't really used it a whole lot yet. And this is gonna be one of the first games that we use that on pretty heavily. Um, so yeah, it's basically just, we're gonna have unlockable characters and unlockable courses as it progresses. So we're gonna we're gonna be building on this game for a long time to come. We're gonna start with about 6 racers and 1 track, and yeah, so it's gonna continue developing, and every week we're gonna do another Twitch and just kind of build it up. So that's the plan. All right. Well, we don't have a whole lot of people back. We didn't, when I crashed, I lost several people, and it just kind of has petered out. It's getting late in the night. May not see a lot of new people come in this late in the night, so I'm probably gonna wind it down and bring it to a close. If I'm not gonna start up another sprite. I've just been kind of going on about principles of the design that we're at and where we're going with things. So, yep, it's had some changes. Grandma's done. We did our sprite giveaway. I will be taking this sprite and animating it for the next time so that we can use the dance animation that we came up with, and we'll go from there. So that's going to be it for the stream tonight. I'm going to put it to a close. I'll be ending it, and Steven will continue to to play poker out of his channel, but I'll be back on Thursday again for some more game development, and hopefully we'll be at a point that we can actually put some assets in and play around with some of the sprites and things, and actually have like the racers in action by next week, actually doing something. Now, I don't about the HUD and things like that. I don't know what the state of the game is going to look like, but it will be at least placeholder level by then. So that's going to be it for the stream tonight. It went pretty well, so we'll do it again.